This is Mike Franklin, the property tax guy, and we're going to be doing a special feature on the State Supreme Court Justice race for the 5th Judicial District. And today is November 6th, 2022, and the election is on Tuesday, the 8th. So you might wonder, why would an assessment advocate be concerned about the outcome of the State Supreme Court Justice elections? Well, the Small Claims Assessment Review Program is administered by the Unified Court System, and so the same administrative judge that oversees all these state Supreme Court judges in the 5th Judicial District, which covers Onondaga County, Oswego County, Jefferson County, Lewis County, Herkimer County, and Oneida County. And so basically the entire assessment program is a state program, and the appeal process is administered by the Unified Court System. So that's why it matters. Ultimately, some of these cases may end up in State Supreme Court State Supreme Court, and one of these judges may be the person that you go before, and so that's why that's important. So there are 8 candidates running for 4 positions. So I'm going to review those 8 candidates and give you my opinion on the matter. But before I get into that, there's also a county court race in Onondaga County, and Ted Limbert is running for that, and he's a terrific guy and the kind of guy you want to have. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, it doesn't matter. He's a great guy, and he's who you want in that position, and we should all be thankful that he'd be willing to do it. He's a great guy. Ted Limbert for Onondaga County County Court Judge. County Court judges are the people that handle the serious cases, such as murder and things of that nature, drug cases. So you need somebody who knows what they're doing with those. So let's go down here. So of the 8 candidates, the one I recommend the most is Charles Keller. Charles is a Democrat, but it doesn't really matter. He's an attorney that does criminal defense law, and he has extensive experience in court. And so, he's just has 15 years experience dealing with these types of court issues. So he could not be more qualified. And also, my impression is that the guy's got some integrity, and he advocates for his clients, some of which are despicable, but it's his job. He advocates for them, aggressively, and I think he does a terrific job. So he's a no-brainer choice. Doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. I recommend this guy, Charles Keller. You've probably seen him on, he's pretty well known. You've probably seen him in the news. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Let's dispense with William Ramseier. William Ramseier, let's see his picture. Okay, this is William Ramseier. I've had a variety of dealings with this guy, and he is a law clerk for a state Supreme Court judge up in Watertown, and he's the town justice for Clayton, and he's a Small Claims Assessment Review hearing officer, and I've had interactions with him in that regard when I was presiding over his own personal assessment challenge, or when I've had other clients going before him when he was the hearing officer. And my observation is that he's very tight with his money, but he's got no problem spending the taxpayers' money, needlessly and foolishly. He challenged his own taxes. Had he won, he would have saved about $180 a year, and it cost the taxpayers a lot more than that just to hear the ridiculous case that he had. And I ruled against him, because I felt the transaction was abnormal. He said the recent sale is the best indication of the value, and it would have been if it had not been abnormal. And I just don't, from having dealt with that case, I don't feel that this guy is trustworthy. I don't think he has the moral fiber for the job. That's my opinion on the matter. And so I'll also tell you that I had an assessment case before him, and he had 3 police officers in the hearing. I've dealt with well more than 150 assessment SCAR cases. There's never been a police officer in an assessment hearing. It's not a trial of a serial killer. It's an assessment hearing. And he had 3 police officers in that hearing. It's just ridiculous. He's a ridiculous person, and And so my recommendation, do not vote for William Ramseier. He's a Republican. Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. Please don't vote for this guy. He's not the kind of person we want in this job. He was a law clerk, so he has expertise in legal research, but I just don't think he has the moral fiber for the position. And also, in state Supreme Court cases, a lot of them deal with business matters. What does this guy know about business? He doesn't know anything about business from my perspective. He passed the bar exam. I'm proud of him. Let's move on to the next one. This David Murad, he was been in the business for years. He's a previous state Supreme Court judge. His father was a judge for 30 years. It always concerns me when people have been in office for too long, and sometimes you got to turn these things over. But one thing I saw about his credentials is that he's a certified public accountant. And I think for state Supreme Court, that's a very important qualification that the others don't have. And so I don't know anything about this guy. Good or bad, I'm just not familiar. But I do respect that qualification, and none of the others has that. So I think that would be important. So I would lean in his favor on that alone. But I'm going to do some more research, see if I can find out more about him. But that's important because of the nature of the cases that they handle. Let's see. Kevin Kuehner. I'd say he's well qualified, a lot of experience as an attorney. Family man, all that kind of stuff. I don't know enough about him to really have an opinion. But he seems qualified. He's a Republican. And again, I don't encourage people to vote based on Republican or Democrat. When it comes to judges, vote for the best judge, the most qualified and with the best moral character. It upsets me when people just vote the party line and they don't know anything about the person that they're voting for, such as Judge Rory McMahon, who's a Democrat, ran for state Supreme Court, and he won. And previously, as a city court judge, he'd issued a search warrant for a black man's rectum, using him not having turned his turn signal on, allegedly, in time. Not that he didn't turn his turn signal on, but he didn't turn it on in time as probable cause. And I think that disqualifies him for this type of work because he just doesn't have the moral fiber. This guy should be in jail for what it is that he did. Rory McMahon, and the Democrats voted for a guy. Can you imagine Democrats voting for a judge that voted for they voted for a judge that issued a search warrant for a black man's rectum? And I'll also say that I did a little research and I noticed that he owned a vacant parcel of land that he apparently is using as residency for his children to go to West Hill School, so they wouldn't have to go to Corcoran. It gives me the appearance that he doesn't want his children going to school with minorities and whatnot. And is that the kind of person you want, handling these cases? I don't think so. So please don't just pull the lever for on these things if you don't know anything about the candidate. And whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, just don't do it. And also, when you vote for these people, there's 8 candidates for 4 positions. If you vote for all 4, you may be helping one that you're less favored beat the one that you are favored for, because there's only 4 of them are going to win. And so, if you don't know, just don't vote, but vote for the ones that you know about. Let's talk about John Dillon. Again, he seems like he has a lot of legal experience. I don't have any doubts that he's qualified for the position. But his profile doesn't tell me a whole heck of a lot. He went to UB Law School, and he went to Siena College, and he practiced. He's been married for 25 years. Got a couple kids. I don't really know anything about him, so I'm not one way or another. I don't know what to say about him. I just don't have enough information, and I'll be looking into it further as I choose my final form. Let's talk about Christina Cagnina. She's a Democrat, and I read her profile, and she has a lot of experience. One thing that caught my eye, she says the last several years have seen blows to communities' confidence in the judiciary. And, well, isn't that the truth? You got Judge Rory McMahon issuing search warrants for black men's rectums. So, to me, there's a lot of appearances of impropriety. For example, Judge James P. Murphy is condoning his behavior. And to me, so for example, if you've got a cop observes another cop doing something inappropriate and he does nothing, well, he's complicit in the matter. And as far as I'm concerned, James P. Murphy is complicit in the behavior of Judge Rory McMahon, and he needs to go. Is my view on the matter. Let's see, but the thing is, what is she talking about here? Let me read it again. The last several years have seen blows to communities' confidence in the judiciary. So I'm not certain what it is that she's saying there. I'd like to have her elaborate on that. I think she may be inferring regarding the decisions of the Supreme Court, Roe v. Wade, and the Second Amendment issues of the New York State law regarding the Second Amendment. As far as Roe v. Wade, I wasn't happy with that either. But they're pushing it to the states, and maybe it should be pushed to the states, because if you don't agree with one state, you can go to another. Whereas if they ruled overall, you would have no choice, now would you? So you don't like it, go to another state. So I really, in that regard, I don't have a problem with it. I don't think that the government should be telling women what to do, but a line needs to be drawn somewhere. It's just a question of where that line is to be drawn. And I guess the Supreme Court decided it's a state issue, and I can't disagree with that. As far as the Second Amendment, the New York State law, I have firsthand experience in that matter. I applied for a for a pistol permit in Oswego County, and for some reason I got a Democrat city judge. I never had an opportunity to vote for him, but his name is Metcalf. I live in a township that's all Republicans, and not all, but there's very few Democrats. And how I got stuck with a Democrat judge is unbelievable to me. It's a Republican county and a Republican township, and I get stuck with a city judge, Democrat. And he violated my Second Amendment right. Basically, his decision was I don't get, I would have full restrictions on the permit. He provided me with a permit, but he provided restrictions that are unconstitutional according to the Supreme Court, and there's no doubt in my mind that it is. His decision in my case was arbitrary and capricious, and it was so because he said so. He had no justification for his decision other than that he's a Democrat, and he had the power to deny me, but he violated my Second Amendment right. And I got to tell you, somebody that violates your constitutional rights, it's a serious, serious matter. But anyway, fortunately, the Supreme Court took care of that problem for me, and I was able to reapply and get that straightened out. It's just ridiculous. Metcalf, if he ever comes up, do not vote for that guy. He's a political hack. He's a clown. Let's see. So this particular candidate, again, it's Christina Cagnina. She seems to have a lot of experience, but I'm concerned about her getting into politics. The politics shouldn't be coming into these decisions. She's interpreting the law. Stick to the law. Leave the politics out of it. She and Metcalf need to leave the politics out of these things. Metcalf has, in my mind, disqualified himself for being a judge. He demonstrated that he. When a judge violates your constitutional rights, it's not good. Let's talk about somebody else. Okay, Julie Grow Denton. She's a Republican, and the thing about her is, in the first paragraph, she mentions she went to Harvard Law School twice. Apparently, that's what she thinks is important. I'm proud of her that she passed the bar, but I'd like to know what she's done recently. It's her graduating from Harvard Law School is not necessarily a positive thing in my view. She's been indoctrinated by those people, is a concern of mine. Actually, my first broker was a graduate of Harvard Law School, and I wasn't impressed with his knowledge of the New York State real property law. His expertise appeared to be in megalomania. But so she went to Harvard Law School. I'm not going to hold it against her. It's just that she kind of had an emphasis on that. But she has a lot of working experience over the years, law clerk for a Supreme Court judge, and so on and so forth. And so she seems well qualified. I just don't know her ethics or her. Hopefully, she can leave the politics out of it. I don't know. So, and then we have Mark R. Rose. Let's take a look at Mark Rose. Mark Rose is, he's been a city attorney, a town attorney in Herkimer County. He's from Little Falls. And he says that the Herkimer County doesn't have a state Supreme Court representative, and he finds that concerning, and I find it concerning as well. He seems well qualified, and he's a Republican, but he seems he's got tons of experience. There's nothing you can say about that. But again, I don't know him. I don't know his ethics. I don't know his politics, other than that he's a Republican. He seems well qualified. So I think that covers everybody. So let's try to narrow it down to 4. So Keller is a no-brainer in my book. I think I'm going to go with Murad unless I do some research and find out if there's any issues with him. But he is a certified public accountant as well as an attorney, and he's quite experienced. So I'm going to have to go with him unless I find something about him. Obviously, Ramseier is not qualified. He comes in last place. He's in last place out of 7. Kuehner seems pretty good. No issues with Dillon. No issues with Denton. No issues with Cagnina. Other than I was concerned about, I can't see exactly what she was saying there. I need to be more elaborate on it. But there's a concern that politics may sway her. So that's a concern. So anyway, my top 5 are by far and away the top would be Charles Keller. 2 would be Murad. I'd probably go with Kuehner. So Keller, Murad, Kuehner, and I think I'm going to go with Rose from Herkimer County, because I think that they deserve somebody in Herkimer County. So those are my 4 choices. I really don't have anything against any of them other than William Ramseier. I know how he rolls, and he's just not suitable for the position. Frankly, I don't think he should have a license to practice law. That's my experience with the guy. If you get the impression, I'm not a fan of William Ramseier. I think that's an understatement. Disingenuous. He's a disingenuous fellow, and ill-suited from a moral fiber standpoint. So anyway, I think I've covered everything. It's get out and vote, and if you don't know, don't vote. But take your opportunity to research before you go and vote, and try to have an opinion. But be careful that you don't vote for somebody who might edge out the person that is most important. So it's quite possible I will stick to Keller, number 1, and I'll make a determination if I'm going to do 2, 3, or the 4th one when it comes to it. But that's pretty much it. This stuff is important because these guys are going to be in for 10 years. So you're going to be stuck with these people for 10 years. So it's important to get this right. They're making $216,000 or $219,000 a year, and in my observation, for example, Judge Rory McMahon, he likes to talk down to people. You talk about judicial demeanor. The guy is arrogant. He is condescending. He's the epitome of improper judicial demeanor, and also, obviously his ethics are we just can't have judges issuing search warrants for anyone's rectum, let alone a black man in this day and age. He is going to cost the taxpayers millions of dollars when that case gets to court. Who knows? The judiciary might shut him down, but if there's any justice, the taxpayers are going to be paying for that guy. What they did to him, it's just absolutely outrageous. And so when you put these people in office for 10 years, they could cost you a lot of money. Their $219,000 salary is one thing, but don't forget about their pension, their benefits. Double dipping, triple dipping. They're going to be around for a long time. So make certain you get this right, and don't just pull the lever on a Democrat. Don't just pull the lever on a Republican. Do it right, and this is important stuff. This is Mike Franklin, the property tax guy.